In today's video, we're going to be checking out the Creality CR-10 SE. So the SE line is a more budget-friendly premium models, which bring the latest, greatest technology in a more affordable price. I'm very excited to check it out. So in this video, we're going to unbox it, set it up, and do some prints. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get started. Alright, so the CR-10 SE here comes in this box. It's a decent size. We got a little picture here, it shows what the printer looks like. The dimensions of the box in centimeters, and the shipping label says 12 kilograms, which is about 25 pounds. Let's go ahead and open it up. So we got soft black foam, and here we can see how everything's packed. So we got the manual and some other documentation. There are quite a few parts, and we will, looks like, have to do some assembly here. So we got the spool holder with the detector attached to it. It actually comes with two spool holder parts, a cable bracket, some snippers. This is quite interesting. A plunger to clean out the hot end. This could be useful. A light bar looks like that we need to install. Very cool. I like how that comes with the printer. And this is quite useful because you can get some nice lighting from the top. Looks like we got our screen display. Power cable, US type. Looks like about 4 feet long. A little coil of filament, looks like in white PLA. And here we have a bag of hardware, which includes tools, some bolts, wrenches. Looks like our USB drive is there, and yeah, everything we need to put the printer together. All right, so that's everything for this. Here you guys can see, we got the upper portion and then the base underneath. So I'm just gonna pull it out. And wow, this has pretty good weight right away. Looks very nice and polished, and we have linear rails. That's awesome. Also, we do have dual Z-axis motors with lead screws that are tethered with the belt on top. So yeah, it looks like a very nice construction here. We'll look at everything a little closer in a bit. And so on the very bottom, we got our base, very well protected, and we're just gonna pull it straight out. All right, and this is it, and looks very nice, and we'll take a closer look here in a second. Let's go ahead and move this out of the way. And that's everything for the box. And let's bring the base back in, and we'll flip it upside down. And actually, guys, before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and take off this PEI sheet. There's a flexible, really nice build plate. And yeah, the reason we're gonna flip this printer around is because I wanna see what we got underneath. So it looks like there's only 4 little bolts we got to take out. So let's go ahead and grab our bag of stuff. So we do get a USB thumb drive, some grease, and this could be quite useful to grease the lead screws and whatnot else. A few bolts here to put the printer together, and some tools, which includes a double-sided open wrench, 10 and 12 millimeters, and also some Allen wrenches, flat head screwdriver, and some open-ended wrenches. So let's grab the wrench we need for these little bolts, and we'll go ahead and take them off. All right, and so this should just pop off. And there we go. We do have a fan connected here to the board. I'm gonna go ahead and plug that. And you guys can see the type it is, and it's a pretty thick bottom here, metal plate. All right, so this is what's underneath. So we can see right onto the front here, we have a pretty large storage, and this is what's dedicated here. So the whole base here, or the shell at least, is plastic, you guys can see, and we have metal extrusion actually, or a piece here. And it does look like maybe it's cast aluminum or something like that. It looks very nice actually. It's like a H brace that kind of keeps everything together, and the gantry mounts to it right here on both ends. So yeah, very nice design. And also the y-axis mounts right in the middle here. So looking at the board here, not too much to see. It looks quite generic, and boards are getting simpler and simpler. So this is Creality's Klipper style board, which is similar or same that they use on the K1. We only have 3 heat sinks just for the X, Y, and Z, as the Z is tethered together. Overall, very clean execution. Got power coming in here from the power supply and a bunch of other wires going out. So the supply is Creality branded, 24 volts, 350 watts. Everything looks nicely crimped and routed here. And this is where our power input comes here from the side, on and off switch on the back. And this ribbon cable here is for the plug-in accessories. And also we have rubber feet on 4 corners that are actually connected to the aluminum cast frame. So yeah, everything looks great. So I'm going to put the lid back on. We'll flip it around and start the assembly. Alright, so putting the CR-10 SE together shouldn't be too hard. Let's go ahead and grab our manual. So we do get some Creality stickers, very nice. And after sales warranty card and the manual itself. So here we have a parts list of everything that's included. And then a step-by-step instruction guide here of how to put it together, adjust a couple things, and get started. And here we have all the parameters of the printer. Looks like for the first step, they want us to put the light bar on top of the gantry, which doesn't make any sense, as it would be kind of hard to do that while it's not connected yet. So let's go ahead and move to the next step here and connect the gantry to the base with 4 M545 bolts. And that's these black long ones here. And they actually give you one extra, as there's 5. So let's go ahead and pull out this foam underneath. You guys can maybe see right here, and on the other side is where the gantry is going to sit. So if we just grab it with the back pointing towards the back like this, we're just going to literally set it into those grooves. Being kind of careful, I'm going to grab this spool here and put it underneath the printer. I guess here in the back seems to work better. So I have some room. Now you can, go off the edge of the table or whatever, but yeah, we'll grab one of the bolts and we'll start it here by hand. So yeah, guys, not very hard. We'll grab the largest Allen wrench. I'm gonna run these bolts down, but we're not going to tighten them yet, just kind of run them down, as we do want to start our other side. And also, before we completely tighten them, we'll want to run our gantry down, which we'll do here in a second. So what I like about this design, because we have that cast aluminum underneath, it should be very precise on the distance between the 2 channels. So we'll run these down also, but not all the way, or at least not all the way tight. And if we go up, what we can do is we can grab the belt up here and spin it and bring the whole x-axis down. Anyways, what we want to do is just bring it down all the way. And actually, guys, there are plugs here taped to the side that we need to release. That way we can move it all the way down. And the reason we want to get, pretty close down is because we want to make sure that all of these rollers here are happy, and the distance between the 2 channels is as close as it's going to get between the 2 separation before we tighten it all down. So this just gives it a more accurate place to start with, not putting any pressure or being smaller here on the bottom and larger on the top. So, but yeah, all we got to do is tighten our bolts underneath, and we can go ahead and snug these up really good. Alright, and we are done with connecting the gantry onto the base. Alright, so for the next part, let's go back and install the light bar, which will go up here. There's a couple bolts, and they are the M58s. And so this light bar simply just connects here to the front. Only thing here is be careful with the plugs or the wires. But yeah, it simply just lines up, and the bolts go through the side into the channel. So we got one bolt here, and the other one on the other side. So yeah, these don't need to be too tight, as it's just a light bar. And yeah, mostly what you got to remember is not to grab this. It's not a handle, it's just a bar. Yeah, we have the wire here that's supposed to hook up, and it looks like the best place for it to go is just around the top here, just like that, or however it works for you. And our light bar is on, and we have a little switch here, we can turn it on and off. Alright, so for the next part, we're going to be installing the screen, which goes right here. And here it is in this electrostatic baggie. So the screen is attached to a bracket, which pops right off, and we're gonna have to install this part. You guys can see the 3 holes with these M425 bolts. So yeah, again, not very hard, and there's some little grooves here that line up, and it should just drop in, and just like that. And if you put anything together, this should not be very hard at all. All right, and that's the 3rd bolt. So our holder is on, and so there is a wire coming out the bottom, and it plugs in right here. But beside it, you guys can see there's a sticker that says there's some kind of external, looks like USB port or USB-C that connects to something. It says compensation port. So yeah, not too sure if that's an accessory or what, but and it's gonna groove in just like that into the holder. So let's go ahead and plug it in, put it down, and then slide it to clip it in. And simple as that. Our screen is on. And so for the next part, we're going back to the top and installing the spool holder and also the wire clip. And so that goes on the very top, and the spool holder literally just clips around the channel and bites like this. So this is the front. So we're looking at the back here. So it literally go like this and then down. So we do have a filament detector plug here. We do get 2 spool holders that connect on each end. I'm not sure why you'd want to have 2 of them, maybe just store them there or what. Yeah, I don't really recommend putting too much weight on top, but you do have 2, I guess, with 1 filament detector. But yeah, it's as simple as just clipping to the front and then going down. But yeah, it literally just sits in the groove and goes down. So let's go ahead and plug in our filament detector. We do have a line here that shows us that it flows this way. So the wire does go kind of a little bit out of reach, so I guess we should go more to the side. Kind of center up more. Now we can plug it in. And just like that. Yeah, and our filament will sit here and then roll through the detector and then down to the hot end. And speaking about the hot end, let's go ahead and bring it back up, and we'll flip around to this side here, and that's actually where our wire clip here will go. So it goes in with the hook going down like this, and it slides in these rails around this metal piece here. So just like this, right onto the rails, and it clips on there and it holds itself. So, and that's for the wire that travels up. And there's actually a tag here that shows us that this piece goes around the clip. So right around this tag theoretically is where you want to connect it. And the other end will plug in into the hot end here on the side. And if you go all the way to the side there, we can see that it is enough, which looks good right there. There's also a little plug here underneath that says X on it, and that'll go on this motor here underneath. Right there. And if we go down more, we can see one of our Z-axis motors, and the plug is taped down to the base, and it does say Z on there. And we're going to plug that to this motor here. And then on the other side, we've got quite a few things going on here. We actually have a little extension taped to the base, and this is going to go from the motor into the junction box here where it says Z. So it is all labeled. So we'll plug in one side into the motor, and the other side here on the first plug closest to it, which is the Z motor. And then we got 2 more plugs, and they're actually both different, so you can't mess it up. One of them looks like is for the light bar on the top, and the other smaller one is for the filament detector. And as simple as that, guys, we have everything connected on the printer. And that was the last step there. So yeah, the only thing I realized I missed just by looking at it here is that this wire here actually tucks in here. It's like a strain relief. I'm gonna lower it down a little bit. But yeah, it's basically got a little channel there that it snaps into, and that relieves the strain from the plug. So yeah, make sure you do this. And that's pretty much how you install everything here on this printer. Now the cool part is that we don't have much to adjust because we have a linear rail here on the bottom, and we also have a linear rail here that does not need to be adjusted, and everything is pretty much perfect. So the only thing you do have adjustments is for the belt. So we have the Y belt here, and it's actually tightened pretty well, and you got a knob here. And for the X belt, which is also tightened pretty well, you have a little Allen wrench screw here that you can turn to tighten it and loosen it. So you want to be very careful not making it too tight, just slightly tight, and that should be good. So yeah, and that's all really what we need to do, except for maybe check your rollers here on the Z-axis, and mine are all pretty much perfect. Now if you do need to adjust it, the eccentric nuts are on the inside, and so these are just V rollers that if you turn it, you can go closer or farther away. So these are a little tricky sometimes to adjust. So if they're close and not crazy binding or anything weird, just leave it alone. We do have dual Z-axes, so everything is very stable, and they are tethered. So yeah, everything looks good here also. That pretty much concludes the assembly of the CR-10 SE. I'm gonna clean up here a bit and we'll take a closer look at it. All right, so this is the CR-10 SE, and then you guys can see it looks really good here on the table. So let's go ahead and start here on the top. We have the spool holder. Not too sure why it has 2 holders as we can only utilize one, and I don't think you want to put too much weight on here while printing anyway. So yeah, seems a little redundant here, but it does come with 2 holders. We got the filament detector here. There is a light bar on the front, very nice. The only thing is you want to be careful not to accidentally grab it and break it off. We do have a separate on and off switch for it, and it's definitely a very nice addition here to this printer. Going down from there, we can see our hot-end extruder assembly, and this is all in one direct drive. We got the cable here coming in. You can see the strain relief, and it plugs in right there. We can see the all-metal extruder. It is Sprite. Got a little fan there with venting. And on this side, we can see our CR Touch for leveling. And we have a pretty nice fascia design here, also with some vents there for cooling and a Creality logo. So there are a couple of screws that hold the cover, which I took out so we can slide it off and see a little closer. And there we can see the parts cooling fan with the duct. Very nice. Go ahead and unplug this fan, and we can see there's a separate junction board that's almost like a separate board that does its own functions, and I think all it does is get signals from the main board, and then it does the rest of the thinking here. There's our Sprite extruder, very nice, all metal. We can see our stepper motor there in the back. And then we got our heat break there with the heat break fan right beside it. Again, our CR Touch is here. And then we have a ceramic heat block with a silicone sock around it. And this is the same one, looks like, that they use on the K1. So yeah, these are all really high-end parts for fast speed printing. And as you guys can see, we are running on linear rail for the X. And what's interesting is that there are no end stop switches for the X or the Y, as I think it uses a sensing kind of mechanism where when it buds against the end stop here, that's where it knows where the end is. So yeah, very nice hot end. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back and let's look at the rest of the printer. All right, so looking here from the back, our dual Z axes are tethered with this belt. Here's our wiring for the filament detector. It goes through the channel and then down, and also from the light bar here all the way to our junction box. There are bearings in here that hold the lead screws, and you guys can see how the belt's connected there between the two. Going down, we have this little clip here that installs, and it just holds the wire here from falling down. And by the way, this is what that looks like from the back there. We can see the motor, the strain relief here, and kind of the view under here from the back. So here we have the X-axis motor, and that's where it connects underneath. We got the V-slot rollers for each side. Everything is metal, and these are our couplers here with dual motors. Our bed here has very nice strain relief. It is aluminum and also insulated, and we can see the frame there. It's pretty beefy. There are no knobs to adjust, so everything is automatic. We are also running on the Y-axis on a linear rail that's wider, and we also kind of have the same end stops here where it just butts against our belt here to our Y-axis motor, which is pretty large. And there we can see the belt with the pulley. So the bed wire goes here into the base. We got the main wire here that comes out the side, and it is a little funky on mine, like it's not been assembled correctly, or there's some wires poking out of it, but a little bit rough looking, but not terrible. And so yeah, the base is quite low profile. And if we go to the very back in the center here, we can see we have a voltage selector under there with a sticker that we need to peel to change it. So I can see that mine is set to 230 and we need to change that to 115. So you want to absolutely do that before you try to power on the printer. We'll grab the included flat screwdriver and go this way for 115. All right, so I just put my sticker back on. So yeah, and if we go to this side, we can see this is where our power input port is, and it is fused. And going from there to this end, we can see we got our on and off switch. And then our manufacturing label shows us a little more detail about the printer. And on top of there, we can see here our little junction box, and this is where you plug in the Z, the light bar, and the filament detector. And going up from here, we can see kind of the X-axis mechanism there where the belt runs, and to adjust it, you use this Allen bolt here to tighten the belt. Going back to the front, we can see our build plate, and it is 220 by 220, and I believe 265 tall we can print, which is a very nice print volume. We have a flexible PEI sheet that comes off. It's pretty thin. It's coated on one side and reflective on the other. This is our magnetic mat, which the plate magnetizes to. I do love that it has the little bolts for the end stop for connecting it quick. There's no guessing of where it goes. You just butt it against and put it down. And again, you guys can see there the frame, no adjustables. So yeah, and we're also insulated. You can maybe see a little better there, linear rails. There's actually two bearings, and all the way in the front here, this is our tension adjuster for the Y belt. So this is what the front looks like. Very nice. We do have a very large tray that opens up, and you guys can see I put most of the stuff in here, and it is huge, guys, and fits a lot of things, which is pretty incredible to see for a smaller printer to have such a big tray. So not too much going on this side, but on the other side here we have the screen, which here we have a sticker that reminds us to check the voltage, which we have done already. Let's go ahead and peel off the protector. So this screen is not made to be moved. It's kind of stationary, but it does unclip if you need to, you know, kind of take it off. Yeah, it's a pretty decent screen. The bezels are a little large, but not bad. And obviously it is a touch screen. And what's pretty unique is that we have the USB ports here right on the screen itself instead of the printer. So yeah, and you guys can see there how it connects and mounts to the side there. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting printer, and what's unique about it is how they've put parts from the K1 into this bedslinger style i3 printer, offering us high-speed printing in a more budget-friendly and more of a normal format that we're used to. So for the next part, let's go ahead and plug it in, turn it on, check all the movements, preheat it, level it, and start our first print. All right, so I got the printer plugged in the back. Let's go ahead and hit the power switch. And it does come on. We can see actually the light here shining down. We got a boot up. Not too sure how much you guys will see that. And by the way, this light is really warm from the top here. Really like the color temperature. All right, so it looks like it's booted up. So here we can see we need to choose our language. Let's go ahead and click on English, and then next step. Agree to privacy policy. Next step. Here we can connect our printer to the Wi-Fi. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Enter your network's password. You can skip this if you want, but I already connected, so we'll go to the next step. Here you're going to choose your time zone, and you can scroll up and down. Click next. So here they give you a barcode, which gives you access to the printer, slicing, and all kinds of cool things. Let's go next. So here it says it's going to go through self-check. So let's go ahead and start that. It's going to do nozzle heating, bed heating, auto leveling, and input shaping at the end there. So all right, so it's starting to move around now. The nozzle and the bed passed. Now it's going to auto leveling. So it's using the probe right now to probe the bed. Fans came on, and actually they're pretty loud. Alright, so that looked like a 7x7 probe there, which is what, 49 points? So it's done with automatic. It's now going to optimization of vibration, which is input shaping. So it's doing the hot end right now, and I don't know if you guys can hear it. There's like a tone coming out of it. Alright, so it looks like it's done, and I didn't see it moving the bed around, but it did do the hot end, so maybe it was doing this at the same time. But in any case, it is finished through the self-test. Click OK, and this is our home screen. Alright, so let's check out the main menu here. So we got the Creality logo. It says we're connected to Wi-Fi. We got the nozzle temperature, the bed temperature, the fan controls here. Click on that, actually turns it on, and again the fan is pretty loud, and that is the parts cooling fan. Here we have a graph that shows us the nozzle temperature and the bed temperature together correlating here through this. Down here we have our main buttons. We got the home, which is where we're at. Here we have settings, so we can control our movements here, and we can home here also. The increments on the top here, we have 3 tabs. So we're in the movement. Now we can go to extruder, and this is where we can preheat it, and also extrude or retract. And then we have cooling. Here you can control the fan manually in percentages. The next icon down here is files, and this is going to read either the local internal memory, which nothing is here. We can also go to USB drive, which is going to read the USB here on the side of the screen, and then history of what you printed. So to demonstrate this, let's go ahead and grab our USB card. It doesn't say how big it is, but go ahead and plug it in here. And it's going to read it, and here we can see the files that are on the card and have been sliced for us to print. So we got a 23-minute Benchy filament guide there, and looks like some kind of scraper. Yeah, so this is the files. The next one here is machine settings, and if we click on that, here we have the system. We can adjust our screen brightness. It's probably good where it's at. So always on display, I guess, is keeping the screen on for this long and then dimming it, or maybe turning it off. I guess we'll find out. But the language, the sounds, you can turn that off if you don't want it to beep when you click things. Here you can can also do the self-tests, time zones, bind to cloud. This is where you're going to find your QR code. And then we have our version down here. On the top here, we can see we're in system. Here we have network. And then the last thing we got here is camera. And you can actually plug a camera in here and have it do certain things. So this is an accessory here. And then the last button on down here, we have this little robot thing, which is a helper, frequently asked questions, and also log. So yeah, pretty straightforward and quite easy to understand. So for next part, let's go ahead and preheat the printer so we can load some filament in. So I'm going to click on this extrude button and it's going to start preheating, then extruding, and then finish. So instead of using the coil, I do have a little spool of Creality filament, which I'll use here for our first test print. Grab our snippers and we'll cut it on an angle so we can feed it through easier. So we're going to put it on this spool holder here on the side, which has the filament detector. By the way, the filament detector does glow blue when you insert it. And then we're going to head down for the extruder. So we got this arm here, and all we need to do is just release it and then push our filament all the way down through into the hot end, and we can manually push it down until it starts coming out. You guys can see it. Now you can also go in the screen and, you know, do an extrude in here. Let me check the link. So it's on 5 millimeters, so we can click extrude and actually it's restarting the process again. So I guess it does have a timer. After it does the first, it starts to cool off and you have to do it again. But yeah, it's easy enough to just push it yourself, as it's quite lengthy to wait for the process. Okay, we're at the target temperature and there it goes. So it's pushing it through just 5 millimeters. That's all it's got. And you can control the length here of how much you want it to push. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the file and let's go ahead and just go with the Benchy here, which is a really fast print. So I clicked on it and then we're going to click print and it's processing it. And there it goes. I probably should have removed that little blob. It's now stuck to the tip. I can grab it real quick. There we go. Zoom you guys in here a bit. Alright guys, so I noticed that it does have a little wiping spot over there in the corner, and actually on the build plate there's a picture that shows that's like a wiping nozzle area. So right now it's actually cooling down the hot end and the screen completely turned off. So it doesn't just dim down after 3 minutes, it completely turns off. So yeah, if you want to have your screen constantly on, you have to go and change that to never turn off. But it's cooled off the nozzle and the bed is at 60 C, and I'm guessing it's probably going to do its leveling. Alright, so it's actually doing the bed leveling all over again, and I believe you could probably turn that off in the screen, because I saw when you first start it did show me to check or uncheck the calibration. So yeah, if you don't want it to, you know, do that every time or every print, maybe a good idea to uncheck it. Alright, so it's preheating the nozzle back to 220 and should be start the printing process here shortly. And by the way, the nozzle does preheat really quickly, so it's already at 190, 200, 210, 215, and 220. So yeah, very quick preheat. And there it goes. So I'm hoping we're gonna have a good distance between the bed and the nozzle. And so far what I can see, it looks perfect, which is incredible. And there it goes. So it went straight to just crazy fast printing. The fans are not on yet, so it's not too loud. But the movements are incredibly fast, guys. So we're already done with our first layer. It's on the second layer. And now it's going to the third layer, which is incredible. So, alright, well, that's great. Everything seems to be working and working very well. So you guys can kind of hear the noise coming out of it. It's mostly fan. But other than that, very impressive here on the first start. So this is when we see when we're printing, and well, there goes the screen again. But yeah, we got our temperatures there. The bed temperature, fan. You can see the progress of the Benchy here, the file name, 80% done. Estimating 19 minutes left, 2 minutes has passed. You can pause or stop it here. And then we got our same buttons on the bottom, which are constantly there. So I'm not sure if you're able to control the speed or not. Let's see. So I don't really see any kind of controls here, guys, which is pretty interesting. I'm gonna turn this to no setting, that way it doesn't turn off the display. Yeah, there's not much you can do. I think maybe in the app you'll be able to control more. Here it looks like we're pretty limited to just the temperature and the fans. Oh, that actually turned them off completely. Okay, let's turn them back on. So yeah, not much settings here, not that I could see that you can adjust. So everything is, I guess, pre-sliced. Alright, so our benchy is done, and I also went ahead and printed out the scraper. So the benchy actually did finish in about 21 minutes, and I'm not too sure about the scraper. Yeah, here it just says to click finish. But yeah, in any case, this PEI sheet here works extremely well, as expected, and the benchy popped right off, and let's see. The scraper also comes right off after it completely cools. So I guess this is just like a generic scraper that you can use that's kind of sharp here to scrape things off the build plate. Could be helpful. Kind of cool little inclusion. And you guys can see, printed out very nicely. It's a little hard to see in white, but very clean layers and looks great. The bottom looks amazing. But let's look at the benchy here, which is the more impressive thing, as this only took 20 so minutes to do. We'll start here on the bottom. You guys can kind of see. Again, on white, we probably won't see too much, but yeah, it looks great overall, guys. I mean, for how quick it was printed. But as far as what I can see, there's a little bit of ghosting and ringing, but actually almost no ringing, mostly some ghosting here and there, just very minor though. So it looks excellent overall, especially considering the time it took. So yeah, very nice and impressive for sure, especially being a normal Cartesian printer that uses the X and the Y to move, also known as the bed slinger, which is kind of been getting some bad reputation lately, but I feel like with these kind of enhancements, I still love the bed slinger style printers. So let's go ahead and change our filament to black. I'm gonna go to settings, extrude, retract. Oh, we can check if it's loose or not. Okay, yeah, it's still in there. All right, and it's almost 240 here. And there it goes. It's actually pulling it in, and now it's pushing it out. And we can probably go ahead and grab it. Yep, pretty easy. All right, we're gonna put in some black PLA. It's actually rapid PLA, and we can extrude it here, and it's gonna go through the process and do that. So let's go ahead and download the Creality Cloud, which I already have mine downloaded as I've used it before. So I'm gonna click on open, and you will need to sign up and sign in. Unfortunately, this app is a little bit obnoxious, as it's just randomly playing some kind of talking video or something, which to be honest, I don't really appreciate. But in any case, we are in the Creality Cloud app, and it looks a little busy at first until you kind of get used to how it works. But if we look here on the bottom, we can see here it says workbench, and so these are the printers I've connected before. So let's go ahead and pair this printer. So we're going to click on this little plus. We're going to find the printer we have, which is the CR-10 SE. So it gives us directions of what to do next, which is asks us to connect to Wi-Fi, which we've done already earlier. So all we need to do is go to the settings and click on Bind Creality Cloud. It's going to give us this QR code. So we're going to click on that. We've done the Wi-Fi connection, and now we're going to scan the QR code. And as simple as that, it's scanned and our printer pulls up. So we can name it here. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is, click on done. And now our new printer has been added here to the My Devices area. So if we click on it, it pulls up and we can see the stat of the hot end and the hot bed. And we have the print speed at 100%, heat up. So if we click on this, it's gonna preheat. So let's go ahead and do that. It's asking us PLA or ABS, so we're going to click yes for PLA. And then down here we have settings. If we do this, we can see we got a few more things. We got other controls: feeding, retracting, printer out detection, move, temperature. So Yeah, you can turn your fan on and off here. So yeah, pretty straightforward and actually quite easy to use. So if we go to Explore, we can search for anything we want in the cloud. So let's go ahead and find a calibration cube, and it's gonna pop up some different type of models, and I guess we'll just click on this first one here. And so under the files, we're gonna need to click either slice or download. So we can slice it right here. And if I click on that, okay, so this model actually cost money. I didn't notice that. Okay, it says right there 10 credits. Let's get a free one here. There we go. We'll click on slice. So you can click it here or down here. It says slice. So we're gonna choose our printer. We've got a little tutorial here. But yeah, we can see here, it's just like you would be slicing it on a desktop, and you have all of your parameters. So I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. It is on speedy 0.2 millimeters. This is like the standard profile here. So let's just click on slice. So it looks like it's ready. So we're gonna click print. Select our printer again, I guess. It's asking us to make sure there's no models on the build plate. Confirm. Here it says if we want to enable the print calibration, which I'm not gonna do. Cancel. And it should start printing here, or sending it to the, there we go, it is downloading. So okay for that. Loading up, and our screen changed here actually. Hotbed is heated, nozzle temperature is almost there also. And yeah, it's as simple as that, guys. It should start printing here in a few seconds. And there we go, we got this printing menu popped up. So it says it's gonna take 27 minutes. And some of the other information there. You can pause it, stop it. You got settings here. And your nozzle and bed temperature. And our speed, and it doesn't appear that we can control our speed. And there it goes, guys. It's purging. And it started the print. So yeah, it's quite simple to work with this printer, as if you only have a phone. It's quite seamless, and the Creality Cloud works great. And also, it looks like the slice was included with a raft on the bottom, so that's what it's building. So yeah, we're gonna have to change that in the settings. Alright, so the cube is done, and we did print with the raft. Let's see how easy this pops off. So it's stuck on there pretty well, but as you guys can see, it comes off beautifully. Let's see how easy the raft pops off. So it's stuck on there pretty well, but it did come off, which is great. Yeah, there is a little surprise here on this cube, and if we look at the x-axis here, we can see we got a lot of ghosting and some ringing too. On the Y, it's even worse, which is pretty shocking, to be honest. And here's our X wall, we can see the ringing, and our Y wall also has quite a bit of ringing. So yeah, not too sure what's going on here, but it almost feels like the input shaping or vibration compensation is not working. So I probably need to run that again to make sure that is activated and calibrated. And also, I'm gonna go ahead and check my belts and maybe tighten them up a bit here to make sure that we don't have much slop in here, and see if that helps. I'm gonna do all that, and also slice some more calibration cubes at different speeds and determine which speed is best to print out for good quality / time it takes. Alright guys, so I'm at the computer and I got the thumb drive plugged in. Let's go ahead and open it up. So we can see here we got the Benchy PLA file, filament guide, and the scraper, and also we have a RAR file which is for Windows, and I'm on a Mac, so that won't even open. So yeah, that's probably where our slicer is, and who knows what else. But obviously you can download the slicer from the Creality website. So this is the crealitycloud.com. So it's a web browser, and you can actually, just like your phone, and I am logged in, click here on Workbench, and we can see our projects here. And then if we click on devices, we can see the printers that I've registered here. And here we have the SE. And yeah, from here you can do the same thing, kind of what you did on the phone, is choose a file. Here's the one that we sliced, that we just printed. Or you can search for anything you want here. Let's say Benchy. And if you click on it, under the files here, you can click preview, slice, or download. So if we click on slice, we get our slicer here. It loads up the Benchy, and it's actually quite intuitive to use and works very well right on the browser, and you can adjust all of your stuff here. And you can click on advanced and go a little more detail through all these settings. And down here it says all parameters, and you can really go in a lot of detail. So actually I just realized we're on the K1. So yeah, you're just gonna find your printer and click on it, and that's the profile that will come out. But so that's two ways you can slice, but obviously you can also slice through the Creality print application, which is available for Mac, and that's what I got open here. You need to have the latest version, obviously, and if we click here on where it says printer, I'm going to add a new one, CR series. Okay, so on the very bottom there it is, the CR-10 SE. So we'll click add. It's going to ask us what kind of nozzle we have, 0.4. okay, and there we go. So now we are set up and ready to go, and we got a couple profiles, which is high quality and normal. So we'll stick to normal. You choose what kind of filament we're using here. So let's go ahead and throw in a calibration cube, and obviously on the left side here you can manipulate it, moving it around, scaling it, rotating it, stuff like that. So but yeah, down here you guys can see if we click on edit, this is going to be where we can set all of our settings or check them. So here we see on the quality, the layer height, 0.2 layers, the shell, I like to make my wall count to 3 and the bottom layers to 5. I'm gonna uncheck this fill gaps everywhere. The Z seam is on sharpest corner. Under infill we got 15%, should be fine. And by the way, there is an advanced toggle here if you want to get even more advanced with the settings. So speed, so we got 300 as standard. I guess we will start with 50 and go all the way up to 300-400 depending on how it goes. So here you can generate supports. If you click that, put the parameters in there. Under material we got the printing temperatures. So 220 is good for the higher speed, but since we're printing slower, I'm going to do just straight 200. Build plate temperature at 60 is good. Cooling looks good. Extruder also looks like pretty good. Here we have the retraction distance, which is 0.8. Seems to be just right. So if you have more stringy, you might want to bump this up. And then under build adhesion, we got outer brim, which I'm going to turn that just to skirt, and we're going to do 3 around the print. And then we have special modes where we can choose spiralized mode. That's just going to print a few layers on the bottom and then 1 layer all the way around. And we're going to try this out also. But yeah, pretty much the rest is what it is. And so yeah, we'll just save that. I'm going to go ahead and slice this cube. So here it tells us how long it's going to take, 21 minutes or 22 basically here. The amount of material it's going to use in grams and meters. Here we have a legend of what every color means, and you can run through all of the layers there with these sliding bars. But down here we can see we can send it straight to the computer through Wi-Fi, export it and put it on our thumb drive, or upload it to Creality Cloud and it'll be available there to print. So let's go ahead and try just sending it straight to the computer. We're going to click on that. We're going to confirm that's what we want to print. So our printer is not here, so we're going to scan, see if we can find it. And there it comes up, so we're going to check it, click add. And now it's here, so we can click here on the check that we want this printer. So we can either send the G-code and then start it from the printer, or just click here and it's going to send it and start printing. And that's what I'm going to do as we are ready to print this next print. So it is sending it now, and we can see some parameters here with what we're printing, the progress, the speed, and we can actually adjust it here, guys. If you can see that, it can go up and down, so it's quite convenient. And then the temperatures, and also if we click on details, we get more control and we can see a little better what's going on with the printer here. So yeah, pretty cool. And we can see we're heating up and everything looks good. So we're waiting for it to start. But yeah, that's pretty much how you slice and print straight from the slicer on the computer. And this is my preferred way here to do it this way. You have a dedicated slicer and you have all the controls. So is that starting? Let's go ahead and double click here and I'll clear the model, and we'll drag a bench in here and slice it the same way. So I can hear the printer starting in the background as I'm making a new project here, and we can see the bench is going to take 1 hour, which is pretty quick considering I am printing only at 50 millimeters a second. So yeah, it's already optimized to be very fast. So yeah, I'm going to print out some cubes and maybe some benchies, and we'll look at how the speed test goes. Alright, so we printed out a few things here, 5 to be exact, of the cubes and 5 benchies. And we got pretty interesting results. So I did use the Creality slicer, and what we did was 50 100, 150, 200, and 300. And the interesting part is the faster we got, the less it made any sense. So we'll take a look at the cubes first. So for the 50 millimeter, it took 22 minutes. The 100 is 14 minutes. The 150 is 13 minutes. And you guys can see there's not much difference there. And then 200 was 12 minutes, so we only saved a minute. And then 300 was practically no savings at all. So let's check out what they look like. From 50 to 300. Here you guys can see them all at once, and you can see that the 50 is much better than the 100. And then we got 150, 200, and 300. Actually, it looks even worse, and they're practically the same time. So I would say, looking at them just here on the x-axis, that anywhere from 50 to 80 or so would probably be the sweet spot for best quality and ringing. As you can see, we practically don't have much here on the 50. But as far as speed, I'd probably choose this one, which is 150. I wanted to print quite a bit faster, as for some reason it has less ringing or ghosting than the 100. But surprisingly, we still have quite a bit of ghosting, and the faster we go, the worse it gets. So let's look at a 200 and the 50 here side by side. So you guys can see the 50 looks quite a bit cleaner there. So that's the X, and then we got the Y. So it's interesting, on the 50, the Y is quite distorted with vibrations, and the high speed one is more wavy. Here we have the X wall, which they actually look pretty good, and the Y wall. So yeah, the bottoms are practically the same, and the tops look decent on both, but the 50 is a bit cleaner for sure. So yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on, especially here on the Y, as we do have quite a bit of vibrations. And I double checked everything and made sure it was calibrated, and the firmware is all up to date. So yeah, a little disappointing on the ringing and vibrations, but it's not terrible, as you guys can see, for how quick we're printing. I'm gonna move these out of the way for now. And here we have the benchies. So they're the same speed, 50, 100, 150, 200, and 300. So for the 50, it took 1 hour and 7 minutes. For the 100, it took 47 minutes. And then 150, 45 minutes. 200 is 43 minutes, and 300 41 minutes. So again, we're kind of losing the purpose of going quicker after we hit about 150. Yeah, I would consider this printer, or at least the way I sliced it through the Creality print, that 150 would be the fastest I would go to keep quality and save time. Now this is all going to depend on what you're printing and the materials and things like that, so we're just doing a more basic overall look here at the different speeds. So I won't be able to hold all these, but you can probably kind of tell from the reflection that we do have quite interesting things going on. So what's interesting is 100 seems to have the most ghosting around the benchy here. You can kind of see all those lines there. So here we have the 50, and they're also there, but they're just fine. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. And over here actually is pretty severe on the 50. A lot of ghosting there and ringing, but not too bad on the white here on the back. So yeah, the benchy does look good here on 50, which took 1 hour and 7 minutes. But here we have 47 minutes, which just, it's more wavy but less pronounced. But yeah, kind of interesting. But I guess anything under 1 hour for a benchy is pretty quick. Now, these benchies are not optimized for showing off how fast a printer can print, as they are just sliced normal with actually 3 outer layers. So that takes much longer than, you know, if you optimize it just for speed. We can probably get this down to 30 minutes, 25 minutes, and get it printed out real quick, but it won't weigh anything because this is a pretty chunky benchy here. This is kind of like a normal model that you would print, that you'd slice yourself. That's why we're doing this kind of test and not just optimizing to get the fastest bench. But yeah, the next two here are 150. Not too bad. Again, you can kind of see there's a little bit more waves, and we have something funny starting to happen here. But again, you know, it's very presentable, and the most important thing is very solid. It's not weak or anything like that. And then we get the 200 here, and we can kind of see a lot more stuff going on in the print itself. There's more artifacts and whatnot else, and this part here is starting to get melty. But yeah, again, still not too bad. So if you're going to print something more boxy, even going at 200 here is not an issue. And then 300, in my opinion, it starts to kind of really break down, and you guys can see the warping there. Still not bad, and we have more melty there, but just not usable at this speed, at least for this kind of printing. Now again, all of this can be optimized for even faster printing in the slicer, but you just have to dial it all in. but for what we did here and how much time we saved, I honestly would probably stick to printing around 60 to 70 millimeters a second and be very happy with how long it takes to what quality we get out of it. Now keep in mind guys that this printer is still pretty new, and as it gets updates and whatnot else, it will get better, as this does have a very capable Klipper style Creality software. So I am pretty excited to print more things and also try spiralized mode. Maybe we'll do some TPU, and we'll also try ABS and see how well that goes. Alright, so these are all the prints that we printed, and the printer overall did very good with all the different types of filaments. And probably the best takeaway here is that it is a fast printer with overall a good print quality. So let's start here with PLA, and here we have a little frog, and this is in a rainbow filament, so it did change color and maybe slightly, or actually maybe not much at all. But yeah, you guys can see it looks great. We do still have that bit of ghosting, ringing. Overall very clean, and the paws are very nice. These are pretty hard to get perfect, but this printer has no issues. The build plate sticks excellent, and this part here is usually not great, but you guys can see it's perfect on this print. So yeah, very nice print overall, and not long at all to print out. The next print we got here is a shark. This is like a bunch of different pieces that combine, and then it flexes around. And yeah, you guys can see it looks great. Again, this was the rainbow filament that changes colors, and it kind of went from green to blue here. We do have a bit of layering, and that could be because of the color change. Again, we do still have the ghosting there and some vibrations, but not too bad. So this mouth does open. Let's go ahead and see if we can. There we go, it just popped right up. So it did open easy, but one of our teeth there, or tooth, got messed up. Not bad, and this opened up really easy. So yeah, good accuracy on the printer for sure. So here we have another print, and this filament here is a tricolor, so it has 3 colors in one, and it kind of changes depending on the angle or the side that you're looking at. So we got green, blue, and copper. So yeah, very cool filament. And this is like a millipede here with a bunch of pieces, and yeah, it was printed just like that to the bed. Again, sticks very well, as every foot has to stick and then pops off very easy after that. So yeah, again, great print. Looks good, and didn't take long to print. So here we have a little robot thing, and this is supposed to be a functional print, but I scaled it down so much, think about 50%, that most of it doesn't function. So it's supposed to be like 50% larger than this, but our arms still move, but some of the joints don't work, and the legs kind of are stiff and barely moving. But yeah, I printed out sitting down, basically just like that. This is all the bottom, prints out just like this, and then you can open it up. Cool part is the head spins and the arms move. But yeah, if we look at it here, we can kind of see the print quality. So we do have some ghosting also here on the face. But yeah, overall not too bad. This is also a tricolor filament, which changes colors. Overall a pretty cool little print that's tricolor. So yeah, you guys can see that we do have ghosting. But what's great is this printer is very accurate, and this print here proves that, as this is a gear and it's functional. These all print separately, and we can see the bottom here. And then all you got to do is hold the middle here and spin the outside, and this one just broke loose immediately and is literally perfect. So the accuracy on this printer is quite amazing, and there's no issues, and these gears are nice and tight and have the perfect tolerances, and so smooth, which is quite rare for this print. So yeah, if you want accuracy, definitely this printer has it. We also have this little box that did not finish, and it was because this filament is very old and coming to the end of the spool, and it clogged the nozzle, so it stopped printing. But yeah, this is like a mechanism box that closes, and it does still kind of work. It's just missing the upper portion here. But yeah, we did have some stringing here, and it's probably because of the old filament, which by the way is very hard to print on any printer, and this printer did well until it clogged. Where it did print, you guys can see it's quite accurate, and the mechanism, you know, works perfect, obviously. And the walls look reasonable. We can still see the vibrations, but yeah, overall looks very good, even for very poor quality filament. So yeah. All right, well, we do have this little octopus here that I totally forgot about. So this is quite small and intricate here with a lot of pieces that have to combine. And again, it did a great job. There's a support here. Let's see. Yeah, it breaks off real easy. And you guys can see we do have the same kind of ghosting, ringing, whatever on the front there. So yeah, that's not gone away. Yeah, other than that, I mean, all the prints do turn out really good. And it makes me think that maybe the input shaping is not working correctly, or I do have some kind of issue going on maybe with my roller somewhere, which I can't even see because they're all covered up, meaning the belt maybe is not true or something on the gear. So all the belts are nice and tight. I did tighten them up. In any case, these are the results we're getting. So we do have a few other materials we use, which ABS are these wheels. So they printed together like this with brims on the outside to help it hold down, and there was no issue sticking, surprisingly. And we also had supports on the inside, so this does need a little bit of cleaning on, but let's see if we can break off the support just with our hand. Okay, and it comes right out perfectly. So yeah, great job here with ABS. And for smaller parts like this, there's no issues whatsoever. And these are little drift wheels that we use for an RC car that is quite useful. So if you print ABS, this printer can definitely do it, especially smaller parts like those wheels. So the next one we got here is a little rocket, and this is actually in spiralized mode, and it is TPU. So this is one layer all the way around, all the way to the top, in flexible material, as you guys can see here. So the bottom is not perfect. It kind of ripped it off, taking it off. So yeah, maybe we should just take it off completely here. So yeah, you guys can see TPU, even one layer, does a great job. And what's cool about TPU is it's quite flexible and practically indestructible. So we fold this whole rocket up and we can just unfold it and it'll take its shape again. So yeah, TPU is really cool, and in spiralized mode it's even cooler as it's quite flexible and very strong. So yeah, if you want to do TPU printing, you can definitely do it with this direct drive extruder. And the last print we got is actually in spiralized mode, and this is a spaceship, but we actually printed this in PETG or PETG, which sometimes could be kind of difficult to print on, but this printer did a great job. And not only that, we did spiralized mode, so it's just like the rocket, but this is in PETG. And also we have the full height here of what the slicer gave us, and it should be 265. It looks like a little shorter, and I noticed that this can go up a little more. So yeah, in any case, let's look at the bottom here. So it actually stuck very well and then popped right off. And then here we have the sides, also look really clean, and we just did 220 on the nozzle. So again, we can still see those ghosting artifacts here and there, but not too bad. Looks pretty good overall. But yeah, we do have some of it here around the G, you can see it. So yeah, overall it did an excellent job all the way to here until the fan was not on, and this was my fault. I turned off the fan for this part and I forgot to turn it on towards the end here, and it kind of all melted, but it did go all the way up. In any case, that is spiralized mode there, and as you guys can see, there is no issues with printing in spiralized mode. So yeah, overall I would say this is a great printer. I do like that it prints fast, which is really cool and very useful. I wish the ringing and ghosting was a little less, as it would make it a lot more compelling. Now this could be just my printer, or maybe it just needs another software update, but other than that, everything works great. The light bar up here is very nice and bright, and I can turn it off here. You guys can see the difference it makes. We got a filament detection, tethered dual Z lead screws, double spool holder for whatever reason. Love the linear rails, as we got a 10 here on the X and a 20mm on the Y. Excellent hot end extruder with Sprite extrusion and ceramic K1 block heater. The parts cooling fan is a little loud, but it's very strong. We got a great volume on the build plate of 220 by 220 and 265 tall. And by the way, the nozzle does heat up to 300C, and the bed should go 100 plus. Also, we do have the CR touch for the bed leveling, and it also has a strain sensor where it can probe the nozzle. So it does have both of those, which is quite interesting. And whatever it does with the outer leveling, it's perfect every time. The build build plate is excellent. I love the thin sheet that's PEI coated. Works better than you would expect. Sticks and then pops right off. I absolutely love this huge drawer here on the bottom where you can store all your tools. You can adjust the tension with these knobs on your Y, and also the X, you need to use an Allen wrench, but also adjust. So also the touchscreen display is quite nice. Lots of information and options here. I wish it was a little bit more functional on certain adjustments as you're printing and whatnot else. We do have USBs here on the side instead of on the thing, which is a little different, but with the way you can just bring files in with Wi-Fi, overall it works great. Yeah, very solidly built printer, and kind of looks like the S1 Pro, which is a good thing. Not only are we printing much faster with our new hot end, but we have a ton of features and capabilities like controlling this printer from your phone, computer, or even a web browser. Depending on who you are and what you're looking for, this could be a great choice. There are a lot of options out there, and as all the different companies continue to push for higher speed printing, we see quite interesting things like this printer here that emerge. So if you guys are interested in this thing, I'm gonna have some links in the description. Check it out. If you did enjoy this video, then hit that like button. Also check out my other 3D printing videos. I'm sure you'll find something interesting there, and also stay tuned for more, as there is quite a few interesting things coming up. And as always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.